Conversations build businesses, but most people suck at them. Hey, Jay Williams here, and welcome to another Pocket Coaching. In today's Pocket Coaching, I want to talk to you about how to have great conversations, which lead to deep and meaningful relationships, which can lead to friendships, business partnerships, joint ventures, and even long-term clients. Now, where this conversation really started was in one of my own masterminds that I run. And my clients were asking me about sending DMs on LinkedIn. And you can imagine this started a very heated conversation about the existing messages that they get from people on LinkedIn. Now, have you ever received a message or a DM from somebody, and you know what I'm about to say next? They've said, hey, my example, Jay, I've got this amazing freaking offer that's just fantastic. It's all singing, all dancing. Do you want to buy it? And people have just pitched you. Or what they normally do is they will open up a conversation. They'll have some crappy small talk with you, and you're just waiting for the angle. You're waiting. You might not even reply to them because you know they're going to have an angle. They might say things like, hey, I see we've got lots of amazing friends in common. It's great to be able to have you on my network. I just want to connect with like-minded people. And you're just like, blah, you can smell it a mile away. Now, if you've ever had one of these experiences, you'll know it doesn't make you feel good. And the last thing you're going to do is go ahead and buy from them. And if you're in business, you need to get really good at having great conversations because you need to become a master of influence. Now, me as a high performance coach, my job is literally influencing people's psychology. And there's specific ways in which I do that. The good news is if you are a coach or you have that skill set, then it's the same skill set that you leverage when you're having great conversations. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to having conversations, whether that be I'm at a networking event or I'm doing DMs online or I'm trying to market to people, is that they treat that individual not like a human being, but they treat that human being like a lead. And the thing that's driving them consistently is the intention of, what can I get from you? I want money from you. I want you to buy my product or services. Now, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing in the sense that if we're going to grow our business, then we need people who have a problem that we solve. If we have enough conversations with people who have a problem that we solve, inevitably we'll hit the income targets, the level of influence, the level of impact that we really want in our lives. So we need to have conversations, but there's another way to do it, which I'll tell you about it in a minute. Now, the second thing I see is that people try and hack human beings and treat them like an efficient process. There is 8 billion people on the planet, each have individual values, different outlooks, and different desires. If you try and automate your relationship building and send the same copy and paste template that you sent to 1,000 other people, that is the fastest way to make that person not feel special, not feel heard, and ultimately it breaks rapport. Now, what I see people trying is they're like, okay, I want to have great conversations. I want to get into DMs. I want to go to a networking event. I want to get people to buy my stuff. What they tend to do is they go out there and they buy tactical programs or strategic programs on how to basically manipulate people to get them to buy from you. And I know that never feels good when you do that. Now, the challenge that I see with that is that while you might get the end result eventually, strategies and tactics will always change. But there's one thing that will always remain resolute. And this is why I like to talk about this in regards to high performance, is the thing that will never change is principles. If you make your decisions about how you're showing up online, how you are having great conversations from a place of principles, principles don't change. If you think about dealing with human beings haven't changed for a long freaking time. So if you understand the principles of human beings and human psychology, then you're going to be in a better position to have great conversations, which again might lead to friendships, business partnerships, long-term clients, joint ventures, or whatever it is you're trying to create within that relationship. So the question is, how do you have great conversations? Well, I believe there are 4 crucial components that you really need to get. The first one you need to understand is that whenever you're going to have a conversation, there always needs to be a context behind the conversation. In other words, a reason why that conversation is going to happen. So if you come out of nowhere and just trying to start having a conversation with someone, they're going to think it's weird. So it needs to feel natural. It needs to follow a natural flow. So for example, if they add me as a friend, then that's a natural context for me to ask, hey, great to meet you. I'm just curious, what was it about my profile that made you want to connect, right? There's context to it. If I put a post online which says, hey, I'm giving away this free ebook, and they comment in the comments which said, yeah, I'd love a copy, that then gives me context to drop into their DMs and have a conversation with them and ask maybe some deeper questions as to why they want the ebook and how whether or not that ebook is going to be the most valuable thing for them. So we need context for a conversation or a reason to have that conversation. The second thing we need is to be sincere. I think that most people are insincere, and this is what leads to sales resistance, getting ghosted in the inbox, because they're insincere and people can smell it. I can look at all the relationships that I've formed over the years, and I can tell you that most of them started with a sincere comment and sincere remark. I was genuine in my approach. And I know this works because many of my one-to-one clients work with me for a minimum of 3 years. They just want to stay with me, right? So if you want to create great relationships, start from the right place. Be sincere in your approach. Don't be going through your newsfeed going, I'm going to comment on 10 people's stuff, and then you're making shit up just so you can put a comment. Engage in people sincerely. And if you can't find your 10, only comment on 8, only comment on 4. And I guarantee this will support you in creating great conversations and deepening that relationship. The third one is curiosity. As a high performance coach, one of the best ways to influence people is to understand their reality. Understand how they see the world. Understand how they're doing and seeing the problem. Why? Because if I understand your reality, if I understand the problems you face, I'm going to be able to position the right solution. If I make wild assumptions about you and just make statements, that's the fastest way, other than just, well, it is the same. It's the fastest way to actually break rapport. So I asked lots of questions to get the full picture. And a great example of this was when I used to go to networking events and people used to ask, what is it you do? I hated that question. And I hated that question because I really didn't know how to respond. And at the time, I was positioning myself as a mindset coach. And if you ask 100 people what a mindset coach is, you'll get 100 different responses. And so what I would do is if they hadn't already told me what they do, I would ask them, happy to tell you, can I just check, what is it you do? And they would tell me what they're doing. They'd be like, oh, I'm a coach. Oh, I'm an agency owner. Okay, fantastic. So you're a coach, right? And I know the challenges that coaches face. How long have you been a coach? And they'd tell me, and then these would be my qualifying questions. And then I'd go, okay, so does any of this at all resonate with you at all? And I'd go, hey, do you ever find yourself not charging what you think you should be charging? Yes. Hey, do you ever find yourself on the revenue roller coaster where some months you're wondering where the next client is going to come from, or you're worried that one is going to leave? Yes. Oh, do you ever find yourself having imposter syndrome? Yes. Hey, do you ever find yourself being unproductive and procrastinating on a decision, and you find yourself doing all of the stuff that doesn't drive your business forward, but it makes you feel good in order to avoid doing the things that you know you need to do? Yeah. What this does very quickly is it makes them feel heard and understood. That's important. It makes them feel heard and understood. And when I do that, that builds rapport, that builds trust with them. Now, the fourth one is to care, or to give a shit. I think to care to me means leadership. And by that, I mean providing the value that's going to help them get the result. Not trying to get from them, but being someone who's generous in your heart and giving to them. And what that means is if it's not your solution that's the right thing for them, then it's about being able to say, this is not for you, what I've got, but I have a friend who has a great product and I think that's the one for you. Well, here's a book I recommend you read, or a podcast that you listen to. And I think being big enough as a leader to show up in that way is really, really important. And people will thank you for that because you cared. Because most people have been sold different solutions and it hasn't helped them get the result. And then they end up frustrated and now they're down on energy, money, time, etc. And by showing up differently, people will see you very differently. They will trust you for being honest with them and caring for them. Now, I also believe that you need to be willing to walk away from that conversation and let it come to a natural close, because not everybody's ready to buy when you're ready to serve or sell. So imagine this for a second. Someone comments on one of your things. You engage in a conversation in the DMs. You have a little bit of a back and forth, and that conversation naturally comes to a close. Now, because you didn't try and pitch them something, that creates a great experience. Next day, they're scrolling through their newsfeed and they see a post from you that's relevant to the problem they're experiencing. You might be offering a lead magnet. They go, oh my God, this sounds really good. So they then comment and say, I want that. They then come back into the DMs with you and you have an opportunity to go deeper on their problem, deepen your understanding of that person. And from there, you can then move them to the next step. But if you tried to sell them after they commented on your stuff and you didn't have that relationship at all, that would have broken rapport. So just to summarize this, 4 things you need to remember. There needs to be context for the conversation. They need to be sincere. You need to stay curious. And ultimately, you need to care and give a shit about human beings. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you've enjoyed this one, this is the first time listening to me, and you want to get notified about new episodes as well as get the catalog of previous episodes, visit jwilliamscoaching.com/pocket, where you can enter your name and email address to get access to those. And if this is the second or the 22nd time of listening to my pocket coaching, thanks again for listening. Thanks for your loyalty, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Take care.